This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog coming to you with the 2022 baseball trade deadline observations. It's one of my favorite times of the year, being a baseball fanatic and a huge baseball fan. It's the sport I would love to do anything, reporting, sideline reporting, beat writer, play-by-play, whatever the case is. Somebody gives the information to the broadcasters. I don't care what it is, social media, account runner. It's my favorite time because there's all the rumors leading up to the week of who's going to get traded, who's not going to get traded. This year, Juan Soto, one of the biggest time players in baseball currently, got traded. Ohtani had people calling in about trying to trade for him. Judge is a pending free agent, but of course he wasn't going to be traded. So you're just like looking at this like, wow. The potential of them doing this is like, wow, is really weird that there were certain things where you're just like, how is that even possible? So you're just like, wow. So the Twins, who on paper, not a good team pitching-wise, went and said, you know what? We're going to go trade 3 of our prospects to get Tyler Mahle. Because the Reds, they're not going anywhere. They decided that before the season, so they've been trading players, which I'll get to later. So the Twins go, we'll give 3 of our prospects to get a guy who at best is a 3 or 4. So you know what? They get themselves a 3 or 4 to go with Archer and Sonny Gray. It's not the world's greatest rotation possible, but still, they did something. Then they acquired Stanley Leon from the Guardians, who only had him for recently because of their catching injuries behind Gary Sanchez. So give them credit. They went and got a veteran backup catcher just in case. They gave up Ian Hamilton, of the former Sox reliever. Didn't mean that much to them. Then they get Tigers reliever Michael Fulmer, who I've been saying for a while is starting pitching. It's a waste of him being a reliever. But they give up 1 prospect to their division rivals. Not a lot because he's a pending free agent. And then they traded for Orioles closer Jorge Lopez, who this year came on the scene and was an all-star. He has an incredible season, come out of nowhere, never been good before until recently. And they gave up a bunch of prospects for him. And you're just like, why in the world did they do that? You know what I mean? Why would you give up a guy who hasn't been good until this year? And you're just like, yeah, I don't know. So at least what I'm going to say about Minnesota is when you give up 4 prospects for a guy who's never been a closer before until recently, then you go ahead and you give up 3 prospects for Tyler Mahle, who's, been mostly a 3 or 4 guy in the rotation. 1 prospect for Michael Fulmer and a young reliever for Stanley Leon. You're like, why are you going to mortgage your future to lose in the first round? But they're like, we're in first place. The division isn't that good. It's for anybody's taking. I give them credit. As a Sox fan, I want those prospects that went to the Reds and the Orioles to come back to haunt the Twins and be very good. The Twins don't go anywhere. Cleveland, all you did was give up your 3rd-string catcher, Stanley Leon. You're in a pennant race. You may not win a division, but you can win a wild card spot. You needed outfield help. You also needed, I think, a better catcher than what you have right now, and maybe some bullpen help. So it's like you could have done something. They also didn't trade any of their pitchers. Nothing. The White Sox, they acquired Jake Diekman, which is perfect because even though they spent all the money on Joe Kelly and Kendall Graveman, they wanted another shutdown reliever, and that's great. That's one of the Sox needs. The Sox were also trying to get a starting pitcher and maybe a second reliever, but it didn't work out. Right now, I'm okay with the rotation if Giolito, who I saw last night, and Lance Lynn today pitch up to their capability because Kopech, Dylan Cease, and Cueto have all pitched pretty well this year. That's a good 5-man rotation. And with Liam closing, the Sox could have used a bat. But if Eloy and Robert are healthy, and Sheets and Vaughn and Pollock and Eloy are in a system where some play corner outfield some days and some DH, that's totally fine. Moncada has not hit whatsoever. I wish Jake Berger was up on the team. But Tim Anderson and Jose Abreu, and if Grandal's anywhere close to the on-base machine he may not hit a lot of home runs. He strikes out, but he walks. That's fine. But again, 1 move is disappointing. Reese McGuire, though, I'm just sad on a personal note because he's a nice guy and he got traded. Tigers, they got 1 prospect for Michael Fulmer and 1 for Robbie Grossman. You're a bad team. You could have traded more of your relievers, maybe some of your starting pitchers. But I'll give them credit. They're like, we got 2 veterans. Let's get rid of them. Let's get 2 prospects. Smart. Royals, They got 3 prospects for Benintendi, who the Red Sox sold low on him. So the Royals got a bargain for an all-star player this year and a Gold Glove winner. 3 prospects. Not bad. They also get Luke Weaver from the Diamondbacks, who was a top prospect with the Cardinals in that Paul Goldschmidt trade. And the Diamondbacks this year said, nah, you're going to be a reliever. The Royals better start this guy because then they'll have Luke Weaver in the rotation. Any of the 3 prospects that the Benintendi trade helps them out. They get another outfielder in Brent Rooker, who was shortly only in San Diego when they go ahead and traded, they did a swap with the Twins and stuff like that for players at the beginning of the year. And all they gave up was Cam Gallagher, a backup catcher. They don't need him, so they get a young outfielder. They get 3 prospects. They get Luke Weaver. Emmanuel Rivera didn't fit. And they get this Anthony Mishkowicz, dude. So, again, another pitcher. And then they get 2 prospects for Whit Merrifield. He's been rumored to be on the trade block for years because ever since the Royals won the World Series, they've been on a decline, and they've been trying to trade him. So now they finally get 2 prospects, even though he's had a down year. They probably could have got more a few years ago. What I'm hoping is Toronto, who has a set outfield, plays him at second base or third base or even DH or first base because he's not an outfielder. At least the saving grace is there. But I give credit to the Royals. They're a last-place team. 5 prospects. Luke Weaver, Brent Rooker, and Anthony Mishkowicz. Not a bad haul. Yankees. They didn't get Louis Castillo, but they get Frankie Montas. But, again, injuries, steroid user. I wasn't going to give a bunch of prospects for him. But they're like, even though we're giving 4 prospects for Frankie Montas, we also get Lou Trevino, who's been one of the better relievers for the A's. Who I was like, yeah, the A's should just trade all their veteran players. Okay? They got Scott Efros, a rookie reliever from the Cubs, for 1 prospect. So, they're like, we need another reliever. Then they go and they dump Joey Gallo. They don't got to pay him. They don't got to worry about the struggle he had this year. And they even got a prospect. I don't know how good it is. But basically, you could say that prospect kind of replaces the one they traded for F. Gross. Then they traded 4, as I mentioned, for Benintendi. And they proved their outfield by doing that. Then the trade that I don't get is that Jordan Montgomery is part of the rotation. And I know you got Cole, and you got Tyone, and you got Severino, who's hurt, and now you got Frankie Montas and Domingo Germán. Okay, and they still have Nestor Cortez and Gil. So Gil, Cortez, Garrett Cole, Frankie Montas, Jamison Tyone, and Domingo Germán and Severino. So they have so many options, but I think they're going to go Cole, Nestor, Frankie Montas, Jamison Tyone. That's probably going to be the rotation because Severino can't stay healthy. So for them, Montgomery is expendable, and getting Harrison Bader is a great move because then he can play center field with Hicks or be a defensive replacement. I just feel bad because if he becomes a defensive replacement because Benny plays left, Judge plays right, you play Hicks every day in center field, the value of a Gold Glove center fielder is going to be wasted. And I found out recently he's Jewish, so we lose someone in the tribe to a team I don't root for. But the Yankees win that trade. No offense to Montgomery. Rays. They get Jeremy Walker for this Ford Proctor. It's a minor deal. They basically said goodbye Brett Phillips, even though Margot and Kiermaier hurt, and they could use him. They got this Garrett Clevenger for Herman Tapia. That gives them another arm. They get Jose Siri, who essentially becomes everyday center fielder. So Randy Arozarena can play in right field, but he replaces Brett Phillips, who eventually goes to Baltimore. They traded to Seth Johnson. I don't know, whatever that is. There's some weird moving arounds for that Trey Mancini, Jose Siri trade, which I'll get to. And they traded this Ben Bowden dude. Again. Then they got David Peralta, who will 100% replace Manuel Margot because he's a corner outfielder. So I like that. Only 1 prospect. Not a big deal. That's a good move. You get 2 guys to help them out, Siri and Peralta, that helps the outfield more than anything. Getting these little pitchers here and there don't do much, but credit to them. Jays, they got 2 relievers and Anthony back, Zach Pop, and they even get a player to be named later just for 1 prospect. The Marlins just said, take 2 relievers, give us something. So the Jays are trying to get a bunch of big-time setup men, but at least they got 2 Marlins pitchers they can rely on. Okay? They also got 2 prospects. They basically traded 2 of their prospects to get this Mitch White and 1 away. Dodgers' young arm can help them out on the rotation because Ross Stripling had to start and not relieve. They gave away Jeremy Belsley, but who cares? They got Whit Merrifield, as I said, that will help them out at second base. That's a good move. So Whit will help them out at second base, plays everywhere. Mitch White and the other guy will help them down the line, but Mitch White can help them now. Anthony Zach Pop will help them now. 2 relievers, a starting pitcher, and Whit Merrifield. Not bad. Their outfield's pretty set, and their infield's pretty set, but they'll take it. Red Sox. You make no sense. You trade away your starting catcher, Christian Vasquez, I understand, because he's going to be gone soon. But you don't trade Martinez, you don't trade Evaldi, you don't trade Rich Hill or Bogart. You say, you know what? We get 2 prospects for Vasquez, cool. We get Reese McGuire to replace Vasquez because he's under contract. And we say goodbye to veteran relievers. So like, okay, cool. We traded away 2 veterans. I don't get it. Is they acquire Tommy Pham. He'll play left field. Verdugo will play right field, which is what they should have been doing. And they're hoping that he can help out. And all they gave up was a player to be named later. He's a rental. What I don't get is getting Hosmer's contract to play first base. And yeah, you get 2 prospects, but you also give 1 away. So like, well, we get 2 guys later. We get Pham and Hosmer to help out the pennant race. But what the Red Sox did was pitching. Prospects for Vasquez, prospects to go along with Hosmer don't help them that much. Reese McGuire, I like the guy that doesn't help them. Pham and Hosmer don't help them. They're not going anywhere. They need pitching, starting and relieving. So they make no sense. Their foot is in the door that they're selling, but then they're not. Because if Bobby Delback's on this team and so is Dever and JD Martinez, where does Hosmer play? It feels like it's a waste. They're probably going to trade him. And the Orioles, give them a lot of credit. They're a surprise team this year, but they got 4 prospects for Jorge Lopez, and they got Brett Phillips. Now, the tricky thing is they, in this Trey Mancini trade, who is like the star of their team, you know, he's like Mr. Oriole, and he battled cancer and survived cancer with them, and essentially it's a 3-team trade, and they get obviously 2 prospects as part of the 3-team deal. So for them, you get 4 for Lopez, and then you get yourself the prospects in that trade. That's really good. So you're receiving pitching prospects, 1 from the Astros and the Rays, which is not bad. Seth Johnson and Chase McDermott. So yeah, you get 2 prospects for Trey Mancini. You then get Brett Phillips to play the outfield. That's a great move out of you guys. Then you go ahead and you get the opportunity to go and get Brett Phillips, a fan favorite. So they traded away a closer who never been good till this year and their best player. And they come out with 6 prospects. Credit to them. Astros. Castro's out for the year. Maldonado can't hit. Vasquez is not the world's greatest hitter, but he's an improvement, so they got a good catching tandem. They got away Siri, even though they weren't sure who's going to play center field between McCormick and Meyer. Ever since they traded away Straw, they haven't really had center fielder. But they're like, you know what? We have 3 center fielders. Let's trade 1. Cool. I'm not going to be upset about that. Because they get Trey Mancini to play first base or DH. Gurriel will do the other. And until Brantley comes back, Alvarez will play left field. I just hope, let me say this to Dusty Baker. You're a smart man. You're a baseball lifer. Don't play Trey Mancini in left field or right field. The Orioles did that. He's a first baseman. He's not an outfielder. Don't do that. Alvarez, at least, is a natural-born outfielder. He may not be the world's greatest, but he's getting better. You keep him in left field until Brantley comes back, and then you decide in the playoffs. Is Brantley healthy enough to play each game on the playoffs? Is Gurriel good enough, or are we going to go Trey Mancini and Alvarez? Because imagine that middle of the lineup. If the middle of your lineup is Bregman, and it's Alvarez, and it's Mancini, and it's Kyle Tucker, and even Gurriel, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Then they get Will Smith. What I've been saying, the Astros' weakest thing was they needed relievers. And they got one. Will Smith is a former closer you can set up. Jake Odorizzi, though, they traded him. And I'm just like, okay, but this rotation is Garcia, Kitty, and Justin Verlander, and the other guys in the rotation. So for them, their rotation was already solid, okay? Framber Valdez, as I said, your Kitty, Luis Garcia, and Christian Javier, and Lance McCullers is going to come back at some point. So when you have 6 to 7 starting pitchers, you can go ahead and go, you know what? We can give Odorizzi away, a veteran, because we'll get Will Smith, and that'll help our bullpen out. So yeah, Smith for the bullpen, Trey Mancini at first base DH, and Christian Vasquez. Hey, the Astros are one of the 2 best teams in the American League. Smart. Mariners. Mishkowitz, Kansas City, doesn't matter. Getting Matthew Boyd and Luis Castillo for a rotation that's pretty much Robbie Ray and a bunch of young guys. You know, they still got the guy that they got from the Cardinals years ago, but still, for the most part, Marco Gonzalez, for the most part, that rotation is just Robbie Ray and a bunch of rookies. That wasn't going to make the playoffs or win a division or do anything or win the playoffs. So by getting Luis Castillo, who's not just a rental, he's under control for a while, Yeah, you gave up 4 prospects, and some of them are your best. But Robbie Ray, Louis Castillo, Matt Boyd, and I guess, Marco Gonzalez if he's healthy. That's not a bad 4-man rotation if you're playing in a normal 7-game playoff series. And you get Kirk Casale because, again, Cal Riley and Luis Torrens don't really scare me a catcher, but Casale is just a good backup catcher. That's depth. Jake Lamb. This team already has 1,000 infielders in Suarez and France and Carlos Santana and all the other guys, Toro and Frazier, so that's just extra depth. Not an outfielder. Never play him there. Okay, so for them, Boyd and Castillo fixed the rotation, which was a huge concern. Casale gives them a veteran catcher. Jake Lamb gives them a power bat off the bench, even though they have too many. And they already traded for Carlos Santana. So the Royals said goodbye to Santana, Benintendi, and Whit Merrifield. And they're like, you know what? Goodbye Cam Gallagher. Goodbye all these other guys. So this is what I'm getting at, is that the Royals did pretty good. The Mariners did pretty good there too. I thought they probably could have used another reliever or two more than getting another starter, but that's just me. They have too many position players, and they're getting out Mitch Haniger back from the injury list, so that's fine. Rangers, they made one trade. They traded Matt Bush for Mark Matthews, the utility man, and a prospect to the Brewers. They didn't trade Gary Richards or Matt Moore. They didn't trade anybody, Cole Calhoun, Brad Miller, Charlie Culberson. This team, that money on Simmons and Seager and Gray, and it hasn't really worked out between them. They're not having a great year. But you should trade everything that's not nailed down to the ground. That's any veteran infielder, veteran outfielder, veteran starting pitcher. Martin Perez could have helped lots of teams. So they get it like, yay, you traded one reliever and you got a prospect and utility player. But that doesn't mean anything if, you don't move everybody. Angels, fire sale. Ohtani, nope, but guess what? Raciel Iglesias, their closer, who I thought they would have traded, and I was right about it, went to the Braves. So the Braves got Iglesias to replace Will Smith. Don't worry about it. Jesse Chavez has been an okay reliever of the Braves, but the dude has been a starter and a reliever and a setup guy and a long man and an opener. The Angels get him back for like the third or fourth time, and they get a prospect. Okay, one prospect. Good. Then they traded Thor, who was a rental anyway, for Mickey Moniak and a prospect. So they get another prospect. Mickey Moniak is still a young guy. He's a first-round pick from a few years ago. He could be their everyday left fielder or right fielder because you obviously have Mike Trout, you have Joe Adell, and Brandon Marsh. Nope, Brandon Marsh got traded to the Phillies for a prospect. So they acquired 3 prospects, a veteran pitcher, and a young player, Moniak. So the Angels said goodbye to a bunch of people. I just don't want to say the Brandon Marsh thing because he's very, very, very young. Makes no sense. That's where I'm getting it. But hey, you know what? Moniak will replace Brandon Marsh in the corner outfield with Joe Adell and Mike Trout. Not bad. Now you're going, oh, they got Taylor Ward. Yeah, he's not really an outfielder. But yeah, Angels, they realized to wave the white flag and trade your veteran closer, trade your veteran starting pitcher, and an outfielder. They could have probably traded Ryan Tepera or another guy or two, but, Lorenzen was hurt, so they couldn't do that. And then the 8th, you get 4 prospects for Montas, who's never healthy, and a middle reliever in Lou Trevino, and you get a prospect for Austin Allen, a catcher. You know what? They could have traded Seth Brown, Chad Pinder, Piscotty, Stephen Vogt, Jed Lowry, Tony Kemp, Stephen Vogt, and even Sean Murphy, their best player. And they also could have traded Blackburn, who was having an all-star season like Lopez was with the Orioles. Just, you never know what's going to happen. But hey, 4 prospects, and then another. Good. Congratulations to the A's, your last place team. You continue to tear down. Brewers, I have to tell you this. Why in the world was Josh Hader traded away? He's an all-star closer. He's one of the best closers in baseball. In the last couple of years, he's the best. I know you get Taylor Rogers, who's went from Minnesota to San Diego to now being the 8th inning guy in your playoff team, and you promote Devin Williams because you're lucky enough to have an all-star setup man. But then you get Delson Lamento, and like, maybe he could start. They've had some injuries. Maybe he can be a swing guy. They just cut him, so that's a waste. So all I can say is maybe the Brewers don't want to pay Josh Hader, and they decided 2 prospects, and we get a setup man. That's fine. Then they got Bush and Rosenthal. So if Rosenthal's actually healthy, because I know when he's healthy, he's been a good pitcher. Him and Matt Bush, when he's also healthy, with Taylor Rogers, they get 3 relievers and 2 prospects. So at least, but I just thought they may have got an outfielder like Randall Grichuk or Ian Happ, because I know they're going to trade in division, but they needed some outfield help because they haven't got a lot of production in the outfield. They could have used a third baseman. Nope, but they fixed the bullpen. Cardinals, their pitching staff as a whole, I knew that was what they needed to upgrade. So I'm glad they didn't get Soto and gave away prospects. So Quintana and Montgomery to slide in the rotation between, Waino, Matt, and Miles Mikolas, because we have no idea when Flaherty's coming back. That's fine. That's an okay rotation. You don't know what you're getting with Dakota Hudson or Jordan Hicks. I just don't like trading Harrison Bader because he's a Gold Glove center fielder. He's an everyday player. Dylan Carlson's an okay center fielder, but him in center, Bader and Carlson are right and O'Neill and left. You couldn't top. There's not many teams you can count who's a better outfield. So I felt like the price was steep. But you also got Chris Stratton. So he's a swing guy, but he'll help out this bullpen. So 2 minor prospects for Quintana and Stratton, rentals from the Pirates. The Pirates go, yeah, we got 2 prospects. So I'm just a little bit upset about the Bader trade because it just you don't do what the Astros did last year. Trade their everyday center fielder for a reliever and then don't know what they're doing in center field. Okay, they traded away Romine, who they only had for a day, to the Reds, and then they traded for Austin Allen. I don't get why they needed to get Austin Allen. They have enough catching, that's my opinion. And at least they got a prospect in Mundo Sosa, who took Paul DeYoung's job to the Phillies. So, they at least get a prospect back in terms of what they gave up in the Pirates trade. Cubs, Robertson for a prospect, Givens for a prospect, rookie reliever Efros for a prospect. They had Dixon Machado, and they somehow took a AAA player and got a prospect from the Giants. And then they traded Chris Martin to the Dodgers, not the Coldplay singer, and they got Zach McKinstry, who, again, useful utility player and a young guy. So the Cubs at least say to themselves, we traded away 4 relievers and a AAA player, and we just got prospects and a player back. So at least the Cubs are doing something. What I don't understand is the whole, why did they trade Contreras last year? Why did they trade him before the season? Why are they're like talking about trading Contreras and happened, then don't trade him? Now, obviously, the VR and Simmons thing didn't work out. They didn't even trade Yan Gomes. I thought they would have done that. Some of their starting pitchers this year who are veterans haven't been healthy, so they couldn't do that. So you're like, okay, let's give the Cubs credit. You traded 4 relievers and a AAA shortstop to get one guy pretty much for everybody. That's fine. You just didn't trade the big fish, and it made a whole circus out of it. Pirates, 2 prospects for the Quintana Stratton deal. You get this pitcher named Jerome Beasley. You got 1 prospect for Daniel Vogelback, and you got and you got cash for Michael Perez. They did what they're supposed to. They traded away a couple guys here and there. I thought Reynolds could have been moved, the big-time player. Some of the relievers they signed this year didn't work out, so they couldn't trade them. That's fine. The Reds, let's give them props. 3 for Malley, 4 for Castillo. You got 7 prospects. You had an 8th for Brandon Drury, who signed to a minor league contract and only played because the Colin Moraine signing didn't work out. Jonathan Nee and Mike Moustakis were hurt. So due to players being hurt and disappointment, the minor league contract turned out to having an all-star season. He should have been an all-star. They get a prospect. They got Romine, whoop-de-frickin-doo. Their catcher Stevens out for the year. Then they got a player to be named later for FAM, but it's a rental, so it's not like it's major. Then they got 2 prospects from the Mets, trading backup outfielder Tyler Naquin and deal. So that's 2, 4, 6, 7, 10 prospects and a player to be named later. They've been rebuild mode. That's what they're continuing to do. Very, 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 very smart out of them. They started the year trading, so when I go to Cincinnati and Kansas City, there's going to be like nobody on the teams because Malley's not the world's greatest pitcher, but he had the most, like Castillo. They're under control. They're young. That's a good move. Naquin, Deal, and like Pham are like rental players. Drury's like a rental player. Mets got Vogelbach for 1 prospect and 2 for Deal and Naquin. But here's the thing. Naquin helped his team out because they needed a real 4th outfielder because Jankowski wasn't good offensively and couldn't stay healthy. Vogelbach helps out the DH spot because Cano didn't work out. And Dominic Smith hasn't worked out, injured, sent down. And they got Michael Givens, which I knew that between Adam Ottavino, Tommy Hunter, and Seth Lugo, and even if Trevor May comes back from being healthy, they needed another relief pitcher just in case. Because Edwin Diaz has not always been the greatest closer. He's had up and down. So I'm glad they got that. That's worth the prospect. What I don't understand is J.D. Davis could play first base, third base, and left field. You give up 3 players, including J.D. Davis for Darren Ruff, to platoon with Daniel Vogelback when both Vogelback and Ruff are first basemen. Ruff can't play the outfield, and only one guy can play DH at one time, and you got Alonso first base. Again, Ruff's a better offensive player for J.D. Davis, but J.D. Davis is younger, more versatile. So I'm like, I don't really know. But again, give him credit. 2 DHs, 4th outfielder, and they got 2 relievers. So I give them credit. That's what they needed to do. Atlanta, Robbie Grossman, because you lost Duvall for the year, platooning with Rosario and Ozuna at left field and DH. And he's not have to play right field. Great move. 1 prospect rental. I didn't like the Will Smith one because I was like, why are you trading away your setup man and your closer from last year? Well, they got Jake Odorizzi, which will help out this rotation because after Charlie Morton and Max Fried, I don't know when Mike Soroka's ever going to come back from his injury from a few years ago. And they're relying on Ian Anderson and a bunch of young guys because they're getting Waste Colin McHugh out of the bullpen. So Odorizzi will help them out because he'll eat a bunch of innings for the next couple of months, and you can even use him as your Game 4 starter if you want to go, Morton Freed and Ian Anderson, and you want the other young guys not to be in the rotation, but maybe as reliever. Okay? And then you get Iglesias, and all you have to give up was one prospect and Jesse Chavez. So Iglesias has been a closer pretty much slow career. Will Smith has bounced around between reliever and setup man and closer. So Iglesias replaced Will Smith, and you get Odorizzi, and you get Grossman. And then they get Andre Anza to essentially replace Robinson Cano. So at least with him, he can play every position. He can't hit, but he's a super utility sub who can play defense and help out Arcia defensively. So you know what? Backup infielder, setup man who used to be a closer, fourth starter to eat innings, and a left fielder to help platoon and DH. And all he gave up was like one prospect for Grossman, Will Smith, Jesse Chavez, and another prospect. Like some of these prospects, the one for Andre Anza, maybe the one for Grossman because he's a rental, and Iglesias doesn't mean that much, but still. Phillies, you're not going to make the playoffs because ever since Bryce Harper got hit in his hand, he's not going to actually come back probably, and you're not going to make it because, Kyle Gibson and the likes of Nola and Zach Wheeler, that's a good 1 through 3 because obviously Zach Eflin's hurt. So that's why getting Thor was good because you know when Zach Eflin's going to come back, and even if he does, you push him to the 4 spot. They got a good 1 through 3 where if Gibson is your 5th starter or Eflin's your 5th starter and you're starting a playoff of Nola, Wheeler, and Syndergaard, that's good. Yeah, they give Mickey Moniak, but it seemed like they didn't really give Moniak enough proper opportunity to be the everyday center fielder. I thought, hey, he's in center field, Harper's in right field, and Schwarber was in left field before they signed Castellanos or vice versa, the other guy's the DH. Nope, Odubel Herrera, they had him, he's gone, now he's back, now he's gone. At least Brandon Marsh with an opportunity to be the everyday center fielder, play great defense. Yeah, they gave up a prospect, but guess what? Some of these prospects are not always going to turn out. And then they acquired Robertson from the Cubs, who when he signed that long-term deal with the Phillies, he got hurt, missed most of his tenure. So for him at least, he gets redemption to help out this bullpen. Familia got DFA'd because between Knebel and Brad Hand and Familia and Alvarez and all these veteran relief pitchers, they haven't really worked out. So Robertson is a rental for prospect. It's fine. Marsh you get to keep for a while. And Edmund Sosa will help out this infield defense because they needed another utility infielder. So improve their infield defense, their outfield defense, an 8th inning guy who could potentially close for them, and Thor to be the number 3 or 4 starter. And Mickey Moniak and a prospect are gone, but hey, they got 2 Angels players. They got Thor and Marsh. It's not bad with a former long hair guy. So I just don't think the Phillies will make the playoffs, but let's give him credit. Let's give the GM Dabrowski credit. Thor, Robertson, Marsh, and Sosa help them. Marlins, come on. You're not going anywhere. I knew you weren't going to trade Avi Garcia or Soler. You just got him, or Brian Anderson. And Jazz Chisholm was hurt. I thought you would have traded Garrett Cooper, Jacob Stallings, Jesus Aguilar, Pablo Lopez, any reliever in your bullpen. Well, they traded Zach Pop and Anthony Bass in the same trade, and yes, they got one prospect. That's stupid. Why would you trade 2 players at one time for one prospect? Unless the prospect's good, it's a participation trophy. In the National, you get 5 prospects for Juan Soto, and you get Luke Voigt, who's still pretty young and led the league 1 year of the league in home run. So he's going to be your new everyday first baseman or DH because Nelson Cruz is only on a 1-year deal. That's good. Okay, Josh Bell, though, I would have traded Josh Bell to another team and got 1 or 2 prospects. But hey, 5 prospects for Juan Soto and Josh Bell and a young Masher and Voigt. And you even got a young player for Andre Anza, who you signed to a minor league deal to Atlanta. So they get an A just because they got 5 prospects, a young slugger, and then an additional prospect by trading one of the best players in the league. Yeah, you say they're losers because you always lose the trade if you trade the best player, but still. Dodgers. They traded away Clevenger, but they got a prospect, and they traded Mitch White and a prospect. They get 2 prospects. The Dodgers are just like, we'll take 3 prospects. We'll give you Mitch White and Clevenger, who I don't know why they don't need them as relievers, and another young guy. They also then gave away one of the prospects, let's say they got for Clevenger, so it's canceled out, to get Joey Gallo. Now, Chris Taylor's been hurt, Kevin Pillar's been hurt, and Lux and McKinstry and Jake Lamb are 3 guys who were playing the outfield. 2 of them are gone. So you still got Gavin Lux, who they throw in the outfield. Okay? Mookie Betts is still every day a right fielder, but he's been playing second due to injury. And Cody Bellinger's not a center fielder. He's a first baseman playing the outfield. So they get Joey Gallo, who, again, natural-born third baseman, better suited to play left field than right field or even center. And he's had such a horrible down year, but he's still under contract. So at least they have him. Right now, with Justin Turner hurt, he could DH also Joey Gallo. Maybe Joey Gallo, I know it's still a major market between LA and New York, but he's on a different team. Maybe he'll rebound, things will get better, and that will turn out to be a good move for them. Okay? And they got themselves Chris Martin because, again, every relief pitcher they had this year, Daniel Hudson and Conley and Brudar, every reliever they signed this year got hurt. Okay? Craig Kimbrell's been up and down, but he's been better. So Chris Martin helps you because he used to be a closer with Texas and Atlanta. He could be your 7th or 8th inning guy, and maybe Joey Gallo could play some left field due to all these injuries, and that's what I need. The Dodgers needed outfield depth. People who can stand and play the outfield at an okay level and occasionally hit. I just thought they would get more than one reliever. Nope, they trade away 2 pitchers and get one back, and they get Joey Gallo. But I feel like they have one of the best records. They're first place by a mile, so they're like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and go, you know what? We'll take a flyer on Joey Gallo. We're so far ahead of the Padres and all these and the Brewers and the Cardinals. When Walker Buehler comes back and Dustin May comes back, we get 2 great starting pitchers, and we can move some guys to the bullpen. That's fine, and make our bullpen better. At some point, all those relievers may come back. Maybe they won't. You know, Chris Taylor will come back at some point. Padres, you get an A because you got one of the best players in baseball. Yeah, you tore up your farm system like you did for the Upton brothers and Matt Kemp and what's his name, Kimbrell before, but you also get Josh Bell. So Josh Bell should be in the middle of the lineup with Manny Machado and Soto. So it'd be Soto, Machado, and Bell, 3 through 5. If you want to bat Tatis or Profar or Cronenworth 1 and 2, that's fine. I just don't want to see Cronenworth or Profar batting 6th or 7th. Okay, and when Will Myers comes back, Will Myers could play some right field, and Soto can go back to left field. I want Soto to play left field because Profar, we've been over this, is an infielder playing the outfield. Going forward, that's what you want. You want your best ass to play left field, but maybe they won't listen to me and they'll do that again. They get a 3rd catcher, Cam Gallagher, for outfielder Brent Rooker, which I was like, okay, that's a small trade. But they already traded Caratini because they had too many catchers. That makes no sense. They got a taker. They're like, I know we're going to give you 2 prospects, but please take Eric Hosmer's contract because he said no to going to Washington. He's like, I don't want to go to Washington, which is why they traded Luke Voigt instead. Okay? So they also get winning because they get rid of Hosmer's contract. Yeah, they gave up 2 players, but they get 1 back, so it kind of cancels a little bit out. And they also get Brandon Drury. Now, I know you say you got Kim and Cronenworth and Machado and Tatis. Where's he going to play? Well, guess what? Until Tatis comes back, you can move Cronenworth to shortstop and play Brandon Drury at second base. Or you can throw Drury in right field or left field or first base or DH some days because who's the Padres DH? If you're going to play Bell at first base and you're going to play Soto in the outfield, is Will Myers your DH? So you could DH Brandon Drury one day. That'd be good. And yeah, they give it 1 player, but he's going to be fine. And then they get Josh Hader. So they started the season with Emilio Pagan. They said, no, we don't want that. We're going to get one of the Rogers twins. No, we don't want Rogers. We're going to get one of the best closers of baseball. And yes, they gave up a few prospects and Rogers itself and Dilson Lamet, but for them, Josh Hader closing games out for you with a rotation that has Musgrove, who signed that huge extension like the Braves extended Riley, which is a big move. You get Snell, Musgrove, and Yu Darvish and Mike Clevenger and Sean Manaea. That's a great 5-man rotation. Yeah, I thought they could have got more relievers. I felt like they could have sprinkled some prospects here and there and got more than 1 reliever, but they got the closer. So that's fine. You're just going to worry about who's going to pitch the 7th inning because I don't think any of those 5 starters are going to go 8 innings every time out. Okay? So give them credit. They got the best player. They got one of the best players this year who did make an all-star team in Bell and Brandon Drury, and they got one of the best closers. Yeah, they gave up 1 prospect for Drury. They gave up Voigt and 4 prospects to get Soto and Bell. And they gave away 2 prospects to take Hosmer's contract and 2 to get Hader, but they don't care. They're trying to win, which I give them credit for. And then the Giants. They were supposed to be competing with the Dodgers and the Padres this year, and they just had a horrible couple months, so they decided to sell. But they didn't trade Jock, and they didn't trade Carlos Rodon. They get prospects for this Jeremy Walker dude. Okay, cool. Then they get players for Darren Ruff. And for them, with Longoria always being hurt and Brandon Belt being always hurt, J.D. Davis can play first base, third base. They can DH him. They can throw him in left field. So he's younger, has more control, and he's more flexible. And they get some players in return. That's what you want to do when you realize you're fire selling. You're waving the white flag. We're out of it, to get players in return for Darren Ruff and players for this Walker dude. Then Rosenthal, who had just signed and started rehabbing, they got somebody from Milwaukee. They're like, cool. Then they're like, well, Matthew Boyd, we were very patient with his rehab. He didn't pitch that many months for us, but hey, he's healthy enough. Let's flip him as a rental to Seattle. Let's throw in Kirk Casale, even though he's been a good backup for us. But now we have Urian Mercedes and Austin Wynn, who didn't cost us a lot to back up Joey Bart. And we'll get prospects. So they get prospects for Boyd/Castillo, prospect for Rosenthal, Jeremy Walker, and Darren Ruff. Yeah, they gave up some small-time player to get Dixon to play shortstop, but before you know it, Estrada and Crawford had come back, so that's not going to matter. And there's Ben Bowden, an extra one. I got to say, the D-backs, I thought maybe they would have traded one of the utility players. Maybe they would have even traded Dalton Varsho, but they traded away Luke Weaver and got a third baseman, Rivera. They still don't really have a third baseman. They played a bunch. I think Rojas should be. They didn't trade Christian Walker, and they didn't trade Pavin Smith, and they didn't trade Mad Bum or any one of their starting pitchers. They didn't trade Melanson or any of their veteran relievers. They just said, you know what we're going to trade? We're going to trade one of the heart and soul of this team, our former pitcher turned outfielder who's been a great clubhouse president and a great defender, Dave Peralta, away to the Rays. So they get one prospect for Dave Peralta, and they get a young player for Weaver. I don't really know. Ketel Marte could have been had, probably. But yeah. At least they get two players in return for two players they trade. Give them credit. I want to say the Rockies, why weren't you trading? You knew you were going to make the playoffs this year. Chris Bryant has been unhealthy the whole year. Randall Grichuk could be traded because teams could use a guy who could be a platoon outfielder DH. Iglesias could have improved people's team's defense because last year he got traded and was on the Red Sox again as a backup infielder. You know, you could also have traded Chris Crone. There was plenty, CJ Crone, Chris Crone's father. Any number of teams who could use a first baseman DH slugger. Chad Kuhl was a rental pitcher. You could have traded him. You could have traded Gomber. You could have traded any of your pitchers. And again, I know you want to keep Daniel Barr's great comeback story, but you could have traded him for stuff. You could have traded Colomé or Estevez, because what are you going to do with three veteran relief pitchers and like six starting pitchers and Randall Grichuk and CJ Crone and Iglesias? You really screwed up the Trevor Story thing by not trading him for anything, and now you're not going to get anything for the veteran starting pitchers and relievers and CJ Crone and Iglesias. So I don't get it. So a big 0 to the Rockies and the Indians. Diamondbacks, you got a participation trophy. Giants, they got stuff. Not as much as I thought they would. The Padres gave up a lot to get what they needed, but they want to win. Giants got Joey Gallo, and Chris Martin. But they're pretty good. They didn't need to do it. The Mets got 2 DHs, 2 relievers, and a 4th outfielder. Give them credit. They got a little bit better there. Tigers got better with Grossman, Odorizzi, Iglesias, and Azriazis fortify the team. Thor, Robertson, Marsh, and Sosa fortify the team, but giving a bunch of prospects. And Moniak, when you're not going anywhere. Marlins only saying we're going to participate and trade you 2 relievers. And the Nationals win because they got a huge prospect haul in Luke Voigt. Reds, they got a huge prospect haul for their 2 starting pitchers. Brandon Drury, Tommy Pham, the player to be named later. They even got stuff for Naquin and Deal, which nobody thought. Pirates get prospects for Katana, Stratton, Vogelbach. Not bad. Cubs get prospects for the relievers they traded and Machado, but they didn't trade the big fish. And then the Cardinals get 2 starting pitchers, a relief pitcher, and another catcher, and they got something for Hermano Sosa. But trading away Harrison Bader made no sense. Brewers do get Taylor Rogers and 2 prospects, Bush and Rosenthal. But trading Josh Hader makes no sense. You always say you lose the trade when you trade the best player, which is what happened there. A's get prospects for Austin Allen, Trevino, and Montas. They could have traded more, but you'll take it. Angels got prospects for Iglesias, Thor, and Brandon Marsh, who I didn't think would have been traded, and they bring back Buddy, Jesse Chavez, and Moniak can play every day for them. Rangers participation trophy, getting a utility player and a prospect for trading 1 pitcher when they could have traded more. Seattle got 2 starting pitchers, backup catcher, a backup third baseman, because they're trying to win and they needed pitching. Fine. Astros improved the catcher at first baseman DH, and they got Will Smith to be in the bullpen, which cost them Odorizzi, and they carried Siri, which doesn't help the center field problem, but they're trying to do better. Orioles get a huge prospect call for Trey Mancini, Jorge Lopez. What you're supposed to do was a last place team. They even got Brett Phillips. The Red Sox made no sense by trading away Vasquez for prospects, and then getting a new catcher for a veteran reliever, and then taking on Hosmer's contract, but getting 2 prospects, trading 1 away, getting Pham when you're not going to win anything. Blue Jays get the reliever. They get Mitch White. and Whit Merrifield. So again, extra moves there. The Rays getting Clevenger and Jose Siri and Peralta helps them out, and some few prospects in the move. But again, they needed outfield help, and they did. And the Yankees getting Montaz and Trevino and F. Gross, and then Benintendi and Bader for the outfield. They improve their outfield defense. They get rid of Gallo. They get one of the best starters. They get good enough relievers because they needed relief help. Twins get a closer and a setup man, which is what they needed. They get another starting pitcher, and they get a backup catcher. They have a lot up, but they're trying to win, so give them credit. Cleveland, you don't get any credit. You get an F. Incomplete. You didn't do anything. And the Royals got a lot of prospects for Whit Merrifield and Benintendi, and they even got Luke Weaver, so that's a good move. The Tigers got prospects for each one of the guys, so give them credit. That's better than just participation. You traded guys you should have. The White Sox, I can't give you an A, B. I'm going to be like a C because you got Jake Diekman, which you needed, but again, Reese McGuire, you traded him, and you could have done more. Thanks for listening to the 2022 MLB trade deadline recap and analysis. Thanks for listening. For On the Red Tongue, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.